Good afternoon, I'm Karen Kozia Phillips. C News is live at noon.
And I'm Nasira Mohammed with sport.
Well, the election platforms are heating up in the local government election race, and it would appear verbal jousts are getting a bit personal in the lead-up to the November 28th election. That as Prime Minister Dr. Keith Rowley addressed statements made by Mrs. Kamla Persad-Bissessar about his children.
You know what the issue is? That I have more children outside than I have inside. You understand? Well, I want to tell Mrs. Persad-Bissessar tonight, that is none of your goddamn business. Because as long as Sharon is happy with how much I have outside and how much I have inside, Rowley is happy with that.
Probably not what you want to hear in the lead-up to the local government election, but the Prime Minister, Dr. Keith Rowley, has responded to statements made by the opposition leader about his children. The Prime Minister also lashed out at Mrs. Persad-Bissessar, saying with just over a week to go before the polls, her campaign is based on the wives of the PNM ministers.
We have about 8 campaigning days left in this election, and up to now, the opposition led by Mrs. Kamla Persad-Bissessar has not engaged anything useful. Her entire involvement in this campaign so far is to interfere with people's families. Well, if your family is a mess, we left you with that. What you interfering with our families for? She now has put her teeth into ministers' wives. And of course, ministers' children.
He went on to accuse the former Prime Minister of spending $350,000 on roti for a one Diwali celebration.
But you're coming out to harass my soul case about a contract that you had 5 years to deal with. And so bad was that PNM contract that she had, Imbert's wife or whoever it is, that you gave her more contract under your government. But you're waiving that. I want you to waive the receipt for the roti, $350,000 in roti for one Diwali function at the Prime Minister's residence. Look at this crowd here tonight. If I give every one of you 2 rotis, I can't spend that kind of money.
The PNM has based their local government election campaign on local government reform and has asked the population to vote for them if they want to see a change in this country. He warned against voting for the UNC, a party he said, while in government, wasted billions of dollars on the Point Fortin Highway among other projects, and many of the projects are not completed. Rishi Harinanan, C News.
And while the PNM meeting was happening in Koke, a little way down the road at the Ashja College in San Fernando, the opposition United National Congress was having their meeting. Their opposition leader Kamla Persad-Bissessar addressed the issue of crime.
Opposition leader Kamla Persad-Bissessar is telling UNC supporters and UNC candidates for the local government election to be on high alert following statements made by the Minister of Public Utilities, Fitzgerald Hines. At a meeting in Mayaro earlier this week, the minister reportedly said it's time to drive a Balize deep into the UNC's heart and kill them dead once and for all at the local government polls. Mrs. Persad-Bissessar is not taking these comments lightly and is asking Prime Minister Dr. Keith Rowley to say if he condones such violent statements with the current rise in crime.
Given the crime situation, given safety, insecurity, you have a minister of government with his head talk promoting violence from off a PNM platform. Prime Minister, I am calling on you today to distance yourself, to tell us whether you agree.
Mrs. Persad-Bissessar is also asking the Acting Commissioner of Police to provide security for UNC supporters and local government candidates.
This is a government that came into office red and ready, telling us that they knew what to do to deal with crime. And instead of doing anything to fight crime, you have your minister promoting violence on a platform. Kill them dead. Security alert to all UNC supporters, all UNC candidates. Be on high alert.
And on the issue of development, the opposition leader claimed the government has stopped several projects since it took office some 14 months ago, and as a result, it's going to be difficult for those to be restarted.
So the projects that are stopped, if they have to restart after 14 months, the losses, the damage, money down the drain. If they want to start back the highway to Point Fortin, you had it down for 14 months. I drive around parts where it was already stockpiled. All that they had to do was pave. Having stuck in all that bedrock is washed away and gone. By the time you get into the poor children's hospital, state-of-the-art equipment, nothing, no second to none in the world. Half will be teeth out, and the other half may not be working.
She also called on the government to stop blaming the People's Partnership for what it has not done since taking office 14 months ago. Rishi Harinanan, C News.
You're watching the C News Live report at noon. Remember, you can keep up to date with all the latest news on our website at ctvtt.com, or you can check out our Facebook and Twitter pages at C News Live. And staying with politics, the Elections and Boundaries Commission has launched an investigation into a report in which several UNC candidates' names may have appeared on the PNM list of local government candidates and where some names may have been omitted. C News spoke with an EBC official this morning and he said an investigation into the matter has been launched. He assured a statement would be issued thereafter. Now, concerns arose when the UNC wrote a letter to the EBC asking officials to retract the EBC ad which had appeared in a daily newspaper. The party is demanding that the EBC desist from further advertisements which they say could damage their party's reputation ahead of the November 28th local government election. The letter, signed by the party's General Secretary and addressed to the Chief Election Officer, cited inaccuracies in their Form 46 publication. The UNC's Dave Tanku said the party spotted an incomplete listing of their candidates and also instances where UNC candidates were listed as PNM candidates. Meanwhile, opposition leader Kamla Persad-Bissessar is telling her members there is only one way to ensure this problem does not affect the outcome of the election.
Now, what does it mean for you as our activists and supporters? It means that we must be eternally vigilant in this election. That all the support that we have could be converted into a loss because of actions that are not of our own doing. And so what you want to do on the 28th of November, you cannot go wrong if you look for the rising sun and put your X next to the rising sun.
A Bolivian national has been charged with several counts of credit card fraud. This after a 46-year-old man was charged with 16 counts of obtaining credit by fraudulent use of cards, 1 count of trafficking financial cards in breach of the Electronic Transfer of Fund Act, and 2 counts of money laundering. He also skimmed the accounts of 156 banking customers. Wilson Toro of Santa Cruz, Bolivia, was held by police officers at a guest house on November 10th. They seized 168,000 TT dollars and $1,200 US. He is being processed and is expected to appear in court today. Now for a look at the weather forecast.
2 weeks left to run in the hurricane season, but there is an area of low pressure organizing across in the southwestern Caribbean Sea and could develop into a possible depression by the weekend. It poses no threat to Trinidad and Tobago. For us, we'll only be seeing cloudiness and showers going through today. A couple of showers may turn heavy or thundery, especially during the heat of the afternoon over parts of southern Trinidad. Otherwise, it will feel pleasant with a high of 32 degrees Celsius in Trinidad, 31 degrees Celsius likely in Tobago. For those heading offshore in the Atlantic, look for wind waves of 1.5 meters, closer to 1 meter through the Caribbean into the Gulf of Paria. It should be smooth with east-northeasterly swells of 8 seconds and easterly winds of 10 to 15 knots, maybe bringing a few whitecaps from time to time. Tide is high at 6 p.m. That's the latest weather, and I am meteorologist Ian Wallace.
The Police Social and Welfare Association is supporting the Trinidad and Tobago Police Service on their zero-tolerance stance to all allegations of police misconduct by rogue officers. Acting Police Commissioner Stephen Williams said at a media briefing on Wednesday that since 2012, 150 police officers have been suspended from duty for varying criminal offenses, ranging from murder, misbehavior in public office, perverting the course of public justice, sedition, assault, and driving under the influence. President of the PSSWA, Michael Seals, says that this type of behavior is not acceptable.
For the Commissioner of Police in dealing with what we would describe as errant and rogue officers, we have found that it is at times the police service has taken a lot of criticism for officers who have decided to embark on a frolic of own, which is at a level of criminality that is second to none. So in this case, the Commissioner can understand that this association is going to stand side by side with him and support any decision that he makes in terms of getting rid of rogue and errant officers in the police service.
Inspector Seals says that the association has been advising the officers to self-police as well as highlight any untoward activity they find occurring.
We have been communicating throughout with all the officers to do what is right. We have been the people who would have championed whistleblowing, saying to all officers, if you see something, say something. And if you have to say something, say it to the Professional Standards Bureau. And that has worked well for the association so far.
And in related news, a special reserve police officer will reappear in court today charged with the robbery of $400,000 from a Chinese businessman in Claxtonby. On Wednesday, 36-year-old Sean Joseph appeared before a San Fernando magistrate and was denied bail. Last Friday, it's alleged PC Joseph robbed Wei Zhu of the cash, an iPhone and an air rifle. Most Caribbean nations have no sexual offenders registry, so says Jonathan Bagan of the Caribbean Committee Against Sex Crimes. Speaking on Good Morning Trinidad and Tobago, the attorney said the United States has set a new standard which dictates that the passports of all sex offenders be tagged with a special stamp, which allows the authorities to track them around the world. Dion Batiste has more.
At present, the Sexual Offenders Registry is not available to the public in Trinidad and Tobago. Attorney Jonathan Bagan says the fact that the existing registry does not include those convicted of sex crimes outside of Trinidad and Tobago is cause for serious concern. He says limited or non-existent legislation to address sex crimes and those convicted thereof is one of the greatest challenges faced by the NGO.
Only Trinidad and Jamaica seem to have legislation touching the issue. The rest of the Caribbean have no sex offenders registry whatsoever. So it's a huge gap we're dealing with.
Mr. Bagan says the NGO's legal team has drafted a treaty which they hope will breach the gap and successfully address the issues.
This will basically mandate that every island in the Caribbean puts in place a sex offenders registry, and the data from each registry is shared with the region and with the United States and other partner nations. As a young NGO, I've been begging senior lawyers, judges. Our biggest assistance so far has been with the local civil society community, in particular the Organization for Abused and Battered Individuals. Also, we made contact with someone in the U.S. Department of Justice. But unfortunately, the assistance we need has not been forthcoming.
He says it is imperative that Trinidad and Tobago and the wider Caribbean join forces to address these issues. He is calling on criminologists and senior attorneys to consult on the policy. Dion Batiste, C News.
To Energy News now, the United States Geological Survey is reporting the Texas Wolfcamp Shale has an estimated 20 billion barrels of oil and a few trillion feet of natural gas, adding to the shale gas discovery already existing there. And Nazira Mohammed is back to tell us what's coming up with sport. Nazira.
Well, Karen, good news for John Michael Williams. He did suffer concussion, but he's back up and running now and heading home soon. Prime Minister Dr. Keith Rowley says this country spends the most on sport in the region, more than Jamaica, Barbados and the Bahamas, but we are not spending that money wisely.
And the amount of money government spends on sport, a lot of it is wasted because it is not properly organized. And I'm telling you now, it is this government's intention to have a serious look at the sports company of Trinidad and Tobago and to break up that expenditure, bring it into local government and give the sports persons, organizers and athletes the opportunity to bring forward that talent that we're looking for.
Prime Minister Dr. Rowley is also going to bat for local golfer Munifa Seeley, who is on the brink of an historic entry into the Ladies Professional Golf Association.
If Munifa ever gets her PGA card, she will be the first female in the Caribbean to ever have played professional golf in the world. And where we spend millions of dollars to sell our country, if we get one player on the world stage, well, Steve Names was there, but he played for Canada. The government is supporting Munifa, hoping that one day, very soon, she's very close, If she gets her PGA card, that would be a sales pitch for Trinidad and Tobago.
Well, on to football now, and St. Mary's College are out, and it's Trinity College Mocha moving on to the North Zone final of the Coca-Cola Intercol Final. Meanwhile, the East Zone Intercol Final is set, featuring holders St. Augustine and their biggest rivals from San Juan North. The Bugmalatrice outfit edged Trinity East 2-1, but St. Augustine impressed with their 4-1 win over Valencia, as Ruskin Mark explains.
St. Augustine got the perfect start when this long throw was allowed to bounce around in the area, and bang, this volley screamed home for 1-0 to the Green Machine. And before Valencia could catch themselves, they fell further behind when Raheem Gordon nodded in the corner for 2-0 in the 32nd. And then they came close again before the half, but had to settle for a 2-0 cushion at the interval. But in the second half, Valencia got a lifeline when this lovely cross is turned in for 2-1 in the 47th minute. Akil Romeo on spot to tap in. Full of confidence now, Valencia came close to an equalizer here, but they were saved by the post at the other end when Gustin threatened to end their challenge. But Valencia came close again with this dipping free kick that was just pushed over to keep it at 2-1. That was a sign for Gustin to get serious, and they did, when Gordon netted his second for 3-1 now, St. Augustine. They came calling again, but this rasping effort is kept out by the keeper on the second attempt. Then they sealed the deal in the dying stages when Zion Holder made sure from a tight angle to make it 4-1 St. Augustine, who are safely through to Monday's final. And there they will face San Juan North Secondary, who came from a goal down to edge Trinity East 2-1 in the earlier encounter. Ruskin Mark, C Sports.
Well, that was your sports for today.
That brings us to the end of the CNews Report at noon. Conversations with CNews comes up next. I'm Karen Kozier Phillip.
And I'm Nasira Mohammed. Have a good afternoon.